Hello and welcome. This week you find me in the cottage and we're talking about mirrors. Not these, I've got 5 other ones for you. So this is 5 mirrors in 5 very different ways. I'm going to be using simple techniques and not lots of different products and brushes, so it's very cost effective. I'm also going to be styling them in my home and I'm not going to hang any on walls. So let's get started with mirror number 1. I'm going to go in order of size. So this is the smallest one. It was a charity shop find for just £5. Now it's very old pine, and judging by these fixings on the back, it was obviously attached to a dresser at some stage. These are really cute, so I'm going to keep them, but I'm putting the keys to one side. After a good clean, I'm going to give it a sand with 120 grit sandpaper. It's been previously coated with a very thick wax and I'm sanding it down, but I don't want to go too hard because I don't want to lose the patina. It's just a little bit too orange for me. I would normally use white wax to lighten this, but on this occasion I'm going to go with the oil stain, the white oil stain from Osmo. Other brands are available. With this product, you can control the intensity of colour. Now, a little goes a long way. Please don't freak out. This is not going to be white. I'm using an old brush just to apply it liberally all over. And once I've got the coverage, I'm then going to take it back off. Now, if you want a very dense colour, intense colour, leave it on for longer and then maybe use wire wool to bring it back. But on this occasion, I want this just to have a lightening effect, to take away that yellow tinge. And don't worry if you take too much off, you can just reapply and repeat the process. I've used this on all of my breadboards to lighten them. It's safe to use around food, but if you're going to do it on breadboards, don't forget to use a top oil to seal it. I'm going to let this dry overnight now and then take it to its new home. And here we go. The lightened wood and the naturally mottled glass works perfectly here in the cottage on the rustic shelving. Mirror number 2. This is another £5 charity shop find. The glass is actually sealed in, there's no way of getting that back off, and it's actually very heavy, even though it looks as though somebody's hung it at some stage, but I won't be doing that. I'm snipping the old wire off and then I'm going to give it a jolly good clean. Now, if gold is your thing, then something like Rub and Buff would be perfect on a piece like this, but I've decided I'm going to paint it. And I've just had a paint delivery from my favourite supplier who always writes such lovely messages in the packaging. These are 3 new colours that I've recently started to use and absolutely love them: Enfleur, Cocoa and French Linen. So I'm going to use all 3 in today's video. And I think first up, for the little round mirror, it's going to be Cocoa. I'm going to do a stone effect, but only using 2 products. So this Cocoa, the shade, will make a lovely base. After a good stir of the tin, I've put a carton underneath the mirror to elevate it slightly so it makes painting the sides easier. Again, I'm just using an old brush to apply the paint, and I'm doing it in a stabbing motion. I call this stippling, but people call it lots of different things. And I'm not wasting time taping the mirror up. It's chalk paint, it comes off glass, it comes off mirror very easily with a sharp blade. I've not gone for 100% coverage. I want some of those dark colours to be showing through, like flecks in stone. I've also applied the paint very thickly as well, just to give that texture. When the second coat is completely dry, I'm going to add white wax. This is purely to create the stone effect. It's not for any kind of protection. I don't tend to use wax to protect my mirrors, particularly if they're not in a high touch area. So again, I'm using the stippling motion to load the wax onto the mirror, really focusing on those raised details. I would definitely recommend using a round brush for waxing as well. And here's the finished effect. Now there's just one more thing to do, and that's to get the paint off the glass. I just use a small sharp blade that you can pick up from any DIY store. This needs to dry for a few hours and then it's in for styling. And here it is in its new home on a shelf next to a stone wall. Mirror number 3. This is a mirror that's been painted several times and I've gone right off this finish. So rather than repaint it, all I'm going to do is sand it back. I'm using 120 grit sandpaper and a decorator's tool, and it really is just elbow grease. You often see badly painted mirrors in charity shops, at auctions, and actually you can create the most lovely effects by literally just pulling back the paint. Again, it's another technique you can use where you don't have to take the glass out. I'm all for saving time. I'm loving this distressed look, and obviously Bertie is ecstatic with it. I'm just going to finish it off with some white wax as the pine is showing through, and I really don't like yellowy orangey pine, so I want to have that bleached look. Again, I'm using the round brush for the wax and smoothing it on and then stippling it on to create this effect. If you get any wax on the mirror, just remove it with paper towel. This is now going into the laundry room to join some other mirrors that I've done the same effect to, and they're sitting on the worktop rather than hanging on the walls, just layered up. It's time for 4. This heavy old boy was £10 from a charity shop and used to be on a frame. It's a dressing mirror. The glass has started to mottle as well, which I absolutely love. And I can't believe somebody's actually had this attached to the wall, judging by these brackets. But waste not, want not, I'll be keeping those. And these can stay attached. Hand sanding was enough to get that very dark varnish off and start revealing this beautiful grain. Now, I really don't want to cover that up with paint, but it is a little bit dark for me. So I think you can guess what's coming next. I love to lighten wood with white wax. As the glass is not tight to the frame, I'm able to slide some card in, which just makes the job so much easier. I don't have to go back around and wipe the wax off the glass. I keep layering up the wax until I'm happy with the overall colour. I don't want it shiny, so I'm not going to come back in and buff it when it's dry. And here we go, taking pride of place in the kitchen. It sat there on the countertop, leant against the wall, needed a little something extra, so I popped a wreath around the top. And finally, number 5. Now, number 5 is my favourite, but I'm just going to put a warning out there. For all of those that hate gilt mirrors being painted, look away now. Or you could carry on watching and learn how I can easily flip it back to being a gilt mirror. Let's go see. Now, this was not found in a charity shop. This was at auction, and the hammer came down at £50, which was a bargain price for such a substantial mirror. So I've got it on the workbench, and now it's time to give it a good old clean and let's see what we're dealing with. There's quite a lot of damage around it. Now, you could repair it, you could invest some time in doing that. There's been some poor repairs that you would have to take away and redo. But I'm not bothered about any of that, and I'm not bothered about the damage. I'm taking inspiration from this very dark brown here. Hello, Honfleur. Time to crack you open, darling. So I'm going to cover the whole piece in this gorgeous chocolate brown. But again, I'm not going to give it 100% coverage because where there is that darker brown, I want that to be showing through. I just want to knock back all of the gold. I'm not going to use any wax on this piece because I'm not going to seal it in any way. It's only going to have chalk paint on it, and when you wet chalk paint you reactivate it, and therefore you can wash all of this away when you don't want it with this paint effect that I'm going to do anymore, and you want it back to a broken gilt mirror. So I hope that calms the fears of the naysayers. Right, back to making this fabulous for my home. When the base coat has completely dried, I'm then going to brush another paint colour over it. Now for this one, I've chosen French linen. I tend to work out of the lid because you really need tiny amounts. This is why it's a great project for using up old paint or test pots. I'm using very little paint on my brush and just feathering it over, particularly the raised areas. I like to use two different size brushes here. So the smaller one is great for the detail, just getting right down into it. As you're applying the paint so thinly, it dries very quickly. And here is the first coat of the French linen over the Honfleur. I'm going to use another colour now. This time it's another Annie Sloan product, but it's Old White. Again, I'm going with two brushes and exactly the same technique as the previous coat. The white really lightens it up, but I still want to create more texture, so I'm going to go back in with the French linen. For the sides, I've switched back to my old flat brush, purely because they are curved, so it makes it much easier to be able to get in there and add little bits of the French linen to keep creating this texture. And finally, I'm adding just a little bit more of the brown just to keep that contrast, that texture there. Cleaning off the glass, and then she's good to go. Pride of place in the hallway, propped up on the dresser. So that's 5 mirrors, 5 ways. I do hope that I've managed to inspire you today. Please let me have your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this, and I will see you on the next video.